So hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all. Welcome to Soccer Hub Talks. My name is Ricardo Oliveira. I'm the CEO and founder of Soccer Hub. As you know, Soccer Hub is an online platform where you can find many online courses for soccer coaches, soccer scouts, soccer analysts. Well, just visit us. I will introduce the link in a few minutes just for you to know us a little bit better. As you know, this is a live broadcast. So first, I would like you to click on the like button if everything is okay with the audio and the video. Please click on the like button if everything is okay with the audio and the video. Also, I would like you please to introduce on the chat box a bit more information about yourselves, such as the country that you are based in, and also some information about your job, if you are a soccer coach, analyst, a scout, a manager. Well, please introduce that information on the chat box because it's something important for us so we can adapt a bit our conversation to your specific needs. Also, as I said, this is a live webinar, so you will be able to ask questions to our speaker, both or to Filipe or to Nuno. So for that, you just have to introduce the question on the chat box, okay? So, and then we will select some to be asked to our speakers, okay? So, what about to start? Today we are here with Filipe Oliveira, scout and former international soccer player, and also Nuno Milheiro, expert in soccer scouting, and Nuno is also cooperating with Soccer Hub. So I will now introduce them, well, in a few seconds. Hello, guys. Hello, Filipe. Hello, Nuno. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation, Filipe. Thank you, Nuno, once again to be with us and moderating this panel. I'm going to leave you guys, and I hope that everything goes well. Okay, guys, see you in a bit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ricardo, again, and thank you, Filipe, for accepting my invitation. And I believe that Ricardo was mixing Balbeira with Milheiro to start. Probably that is his surname. So
Hello,
it's a pleasure. Hello, it's a pleasure to have Filipe in here. For the ones that don't know, as usual, I do an introduction as a scout. We are pretty much the same age, so I was, of course, following all Filipe's career from very close, and we became more close even when we found out that we have the same job as a scouts. So basically, it was a very technical, and please correct me, Filipe, if I'm wrong, if I say something wrong, and you were a very technical right winger or right back, because at some point you could be adapted to right back. You could also play in the middle because you were a very intelligent player that you could understand very well the game tactically, but most of your career you played on the right wing at the time, and as a right back also, because at the time was not like in these days that you invert the wingers, so you were like a proper right winger with a right foot. So you played in several different countries like England, Italy, Hungary, Cyprus, Romania, and obviously Portugal. You've been a youth international footballer for Portugal, and you won a Toulon tournament. For the ones that don't know, it's probably the most important tournament. You are around 17, 18, if I'm right.
That period is under 20.
Under 20, yeah. But usually the players, you go when you are around 18. They don't take usually the under 20 team. They take a bit younger. I don't know how old were you when you participated,
In that
when
period,
you won?
I was around 18. We had two generations were mixed in that tournament.
Yeah, so I believe everybody, of course, that follows football knows the tournament. And also Filipe played for Chelsea for 4 seasons. And I'd like also to say that he arrived before José Mourinho's era He arrived with Claudio Ranieri, if I'm right.
Yes, correct.
And and you won a Premier League title under Jose Mourinho, of course, because when Mourinho arrived, it was a long period that Chelsea was not the champion. You also, exactly. You also won a Hungarian league for Molfehervar, that previously was Videoton. I don't know if I pronounced the name correctly.
Yes, you did, Molfehervar.
Okay, perfect. Also a League Cup for the same team, and also a Super Cup. And I can tell you that if people from Hungary are watching this webinar, that Filipe is a legend in Hungary, and they know that, because it was pretty much where he played more regularly, and he won more titles, and everybody knows him over there, and he still works for the club, so of course people remember him. He also won Intertoto Cup in Braga, for Braga, that I believe that you were born in Braga. Actually, you are from Braga, yes. So from your hometown club, under Jorge Jesus management. So we had the pleasure also to work with with probably the two of the best football coaches in Portugal. He finished his career at 33, 34. And I would like to say that since I met Filipe, we became closer when I found out, when I started scouting also. And we've been sharing some ideas. He was always very open for sharing. And I want to say that, of course, in the middle on the scouting, as Filipe knows, we meet many times in the stadiums. It's usual, it's normal, and of course we talk more with ones than the others. And but we realize also the methods of working and many things. And I wanted to say this is like completely honest. The dedication that I see, the professionalism, and is very respectful person, very educated, humble. For a player that he was, like to be so humble and extremely passionate about his job. He's always completely focused on the job. I can see exactly that is a passion that he have. I think I'm right, and I don't know what you are writing during the matches, but but I can see that clearly in the stadium. And that's usually at half times we have the chance also to share some nice ideas, and just to say that is very open, like I try to bring always people that share the knowledge, because it's very important. None of us knows everything in life, and his life experiences and changing these experiences is the way to grow. And of course he tells me some very interesting stories, but we keep between us. It was about his career and many stuff, and we are here to talk about the transition from player to be a scout. I also want to invite people to ask questions at any time, and I'll start to ask you, when did you decide to finish your career as a footballer, and why? Any reason in particular? If you thought many years before, well, it's not many years before, but if it was in advance, if it was like a sudden thing, how it happened, please, Filipe.
Good evening, Nuno. Thank you, first of all, for the invitation. I want to thank you, Ricardo, as well, to allow me to share my experience tonight. It's going to be, I'm sure, a very informal talking, because like always, when we meet, we always chat about a lot of things, and this is the way I see it will go tonight. To answer to your question, I had one coach many years ago, Mr. Paulo Souza, that in the period that I was playing for Videoton, I asked him, actually, because I'm a person that like to make a lot of questions. I asked him if he had any suggestion regarding the end of a footballer's career. And like always, he had the answer. And he suggests me to prepare some years in advance. And the best case scenario would be to take a break for a holiday period and to start as soon as possible with a new project. In my case, I can say it was a mix. The last club that I played for was at Romania, at Sepsi Oeschca, and it was a mix of feelings that drove me to make my decision. I have two daughters, and in the period that they born, that was mainly in Hungary, that we spent the time together. We were always together and very close. And in the period that I went to Romania, it was 6 months almost without them. I was in 6 months, 5 months, I was 2 weeks with my family. That had a big impact on my mental state and on my performance. I felt that if I wanted to perform as good as before, I had to be more close to them, or I would have to prepare mentally for a different kind of challenge. And the truth is that when I came back to Portugal from the Romanian experience, my target was to go to have an Asian experience. That unfortunately didn't come, because football is something that is changing, is a dynamic sport, and what maybe 10, 15 years ago would be extremely, I would say, good project, and with a good eyes for the clubs to accept a 32, 33 years old player. In the period that I would like to move there, the clubs were changing mentality and not accepting so old players. So I started to put in my head that this kind of experience probably it would be more hard to have. And so I started to look to the options that I had. And basically the options were starting to be at a lower level, with different kind of projects that almost all my career I have been involved. And mentally, I was not prepared to challenge and to be challenged on this kind of way. And something that I have always been with me was honest. And what do I mean with that? Every time I have an invitation from a club or for a new project, I need to know inside of me that I will be with my body and soul in the project. If for some second I feel a doubt, or I feel that I will not perform, or I cannot contribute on the best way to this project, I will not get involved. And so slowly I start to feel that lower projects were not something that were really appealing, were not really the thing that would drive me with the same passion as before. With all the respect for the smaller projects, obviously, and I respect a lot smaller projects, because for a lot of people this is the beginning of something really important. But you need to be comfortable and with the younger to accept them. And because I didn't feel that I had the same drive, the same fire inside of me to accept them, I was honest with me, and I was honest with the people that approached me. I told them that I didn't want to accept that kind of challenge, and for that reason I decided to finish, because the mental exercise that I did was, I did 2 mental exercises, and I leave this suggestion to players that are close to the end of their career. The first one is to know, to feel if they still have the same hunger as when they started. And the second is to be honest with themselves and to accept that the end is closed. So if you have these two things on the balance, the willing, and if you are ready, you have to make the decision. It's never easy to make this kind of decision, Nuno. And the best example I can give you is, doesn't matter what you do in your life, if you have passion for what you do, in the last day that you are able to do this kind of thing, you will feel sorry, you will feel emotional, you will feel sentiment, you will feel, regrets in some cases because you don't have any more time, to fix something that you did and you should done it better. But you have to be ready. And this is something that I feel that in my case was the right decision. I never for a second after I made my final decision, I looked back. Never. This is the true and this is my honest answer. Because like I told you, you cannot make a decision like this on a hit. You need to think about it because it will have consequences in your life. And you have to make it as much hard as it can be because like I say, I start to play football with 10 years old. I finished with 34, so it was 24 years playing. And this is a big part of my life. Everything that I have, I own to football. So as you can imagine, of course, it's something that I always feel passion to talk about football, to watch football games, to not so much to play. And you already invite me in a couple of times to play. But it's only to say, and you can see the best proof that I'm not missing football. I'm not missing playing football, and it's very funny, or at least for myself, that in the moment I had this perception that I had the closed door, if I can say so. It was in the game that I went to London to watch two clubs that I played for, Chelsea against VD for the Europa League competition. And I had the pleasure to be close to the players on the pitch, VD players, because the club invited me to watch the training session before the match, or the day before the match. And watching my ex-teammates, because a lot of them were still my teammates at the period I was there, I didn't feel the heat, the fire to be inside. And so mentally, I thought for myself, well, I did the right thing. It was the right thing, because if for a second I felt that I wanted to be in that kind of game, who doesn't want to play against Chelsea?
Yeah.
So if I had something inside moving, shaking, probably I would be in trouble. Probably I would regret the decision. But I didn't, fortunately. And so I moved on.
That's great. I'm not surprised. We never talked about this before, but I know you are very down to earth, and I know that when you take your decisions, and you think about the things, and it's true that I invited you a few times to play, but I'm not gonna give up. And also one thing that I tell you usually, I would like also to share with people, it's like about that fire that you say inside. Sometimes we are watching a boring match, and if we are closer as a scouts, I tell you, Filipe, please go and warm up and go inside the pitch, because the game is being boring. Just go and show them how to play properly. Just and it's true. This is informal. It's also for people to enjoy. Not, of course, it's to learn, but also to enjoy, to be watching, and especially people that they follow the careers. So the first decision was to become a scout, yeah?
No, actually, the process until I arrived to the scouting department was a bit up and down. What do I mean with that? I didn't expect as much. I was prepared to do it. I didn't expect to finish my career in Romania. So in the moment I finished, I took a more or less 2 months period to really stop, because I felt with 24 years, 6 times per week, damaging your body, because high competition, you are damaging your body. As much as you can take pleasure and get many positive things, in the end, it's your body that needs to be healthy so you can have a long life. And I felt that I needed these 2 months to settle down, to relax, to put the head completely clear, and to be ready for a new challenge. And my father, in that period, because I come from a humble family that is used to work, to have everything they have today. And my father gave me a great suggestion that was, okay, 2 months is enough. You have to start working. My father has a car company, a medium company, small medium company. He has 15 employees at the moment. The company is separated in car selling and car repairing. And he told me, you have to join me. You have to join me because someone has to start working here, because I will not work all my life. I have a younger brother, 14 years old, younger than me, much clever than me, by the way. I can say this very relaxed. And I accept the challenge. Me and my father, we are very close. We are very attached. My father was one of the most important pillar in all my career. And like always, I told him, Dad, I will give it a shot to work here at the company. But my life was with football, like everything that I done until today was playing football. So I have to learn the job. And first and second, I need to feel this is my path. This is what I want to do. Because otherwise, fortunately, I finish in one position that I can choose what I want to do. But I needed to be honest and to give this opportunity to myself and to my father, since he was always my backup. So I start working with my father. Around 3 months, I work at the company. And slowly I start to tell him, I said, Dad, this is not what I see myself doing in the future. I respect what you have here, because the infrastructure, the business, the people, they work already. The company is open 41 years. But I told him, listen, I will start to put my mind again in football. Don't ask me how, but this is what my mindset has to change again, back to what I feel comfortable, and not only comfortable, what I feel I can work 24 hours and I will feel pleasure. And he told me, if you find a solution for something that fits you, go ahead, like always. And so when I left Hungary, and this is the very beginning of the scouting department, before I left Vidi, the sport director at the club, Mr. Zoltan, invite me or suggest me to finish my career earlier, to start working with Vidi. And at the period, I told him, listen, Zoltan, I feel very honored for your invitation, but I don't feel this is the right moment to do it, because I still feel I want to play some more years. And that's when I moved to Cyprus. And so when he knew that my career was finished and I settled and I really, completely closed the chapter, he invited me again. he invited me. He had a very honest talking, like always, with me. I'm sure his idea, or I believe, that has a lot of opinions in the middle, because soon as I start working in the scouting department, for example, my chief scout was one of the persons that I felt that had an opinion on the decision as well. And I am sure many other people inside the club maybe have one opinion, but I accepted, and he told me, listen, how do you think you can help us? Because this is one of, and this is a point that I would like to touch. When footballers finish their career, they think they can start immediately a job in any department on a football structure. This is not true, I can tell you. First, because they can have, okay, the experience and the knowledge of the pitch, and basically footballers live, I would say, 90 to 95% of their period, of their focus is on the pitch. But the club is much more than the thing that go on the pitch. And so, saying that, I thought, I don't want to make the same mistakes as previous footballers did, that I just want a job and I will try to do what I can. So I start thinking about my abilities, what I thought I could really help the club, because this is something that has to be honest, to come honest from me. And I owe a lot to Vidi. First, because when I started there, they gave me the possibility to win titles, to win titles, to play in Europe again. Always with a very serious project and growing. So they could only have my honest and true opinion. So when I thought about the things, I thought, well, I have to live in Portugal, or I will live in Portugal. The area where I can help them the most is with scouting, because the Portuguese market, as you know, is one of the most interesting markets in Europe. We have a lot of talent in Portugal. We have quality players. We are very close to Spain, which is another interesting country for us. We have very close relation with African countries because of the ex-colonies. So we have here a good market to arrive to different ones, to different kind of markets. And I suggest this to Zoltan. I said, Zoltan, I think if you agree, the scouting department would be a good start. We have a head scout, Tamas Balog, which is my boss. We have other two scouts. One of the scouts was an ex-footballer, Beto Tamas, and was my coach as well. And we have Daras, that joined the department in the same period as me. And so us four complement each other, respect each other. And this was the beginning of things. This is how I start in scouting. The first thing I asked my boss was, you need to put me immediately on a course, if it's possible, because I want to understand what you want from me. And this is the best way. Of course, we spoke. He explained me everything, all the rules, all the details. But and I shared already this idea with much more experienced scouts than me. And I asked them, what do you think is the point that ex-footballers that start to be scouts, they feel the most difficult in the beginning. What's the point? What's the thing that you feel? And the answer is more or less the same. They always say, you can see things, but you have difficulty to write them.
Yeah.
You know what you see, but you don't know how to structure it. And thanks God, I asked Tamas to get me a scouting course, in which I had the opportunity to do it with the English company Ipsio, and it was the beginning of everything.
Yeah, if you allow me, I remember exactly, because I also want to share with people that I was very surprised at the time when I saw on social media your certificates, and I saw you as an example. I was also starting at the time. I believe I started a bit earlier, but I thought, why Filipe? That is like you said, and very very well, that most of the players, they want to start quickly another job in football, and they don't stop to understand what will be the passion, and they don't understand that well, a career is short, a football career, but if you go for a sports director or a manager, it can last 30 years or 20 years. So you need to think long term. So you need to be honest with yourself and think what you are more suitable for. And then when I saw, it was what I told you already this before. It was, I was very surprised first because you were able to go and study for that. And also Tamas, I had a chance to meet him, by the way. I don't know if he's watching, but hi Tamas. And he was texting me saying he was very happy I invited you. He's a very nice guy. And I was also very surprised because you were like, with your past and with the legend you are in Hungary, you respect him a lot. You know, he's in charge, you know, he's on, of course, in charge of the department, but you are not coming with the attitude that many times some ex-players come thinking they know everything. So you maybe because of your education, like you already also said, from your roots, from the education you had from your parents, from many things, but that's something that is fantastic, and I think that's for many scouts that are watching, it's an example that the things takes time, you know, and do it in an honest way, and yeah.
No, I got one of my best lessons, life lessons, just before I started in the department. And it came from my father. Like I told you, my father is a big example for me. When I start to work at the company, we have different departments inside the company, you know, because we have different service. We have the washing service, we have the electrician service, we have the mechanic service, we have the painting service, we have the bodybuilding, body working.
Yeah.
When I mean body, is car body.
Yeah.
And my father told me, you know that I know that you are not used with this business. I said, yes. So where do you want me to start? We have the reception, we have the office upstairs. He said, you have to start in the washing. And I started looking at him. I said, are you serious with me? He said, yes, I'm serious with you. For 3-4 months, I was washing cars, picking pieces, taking clients. Do you know why I accepted? Believe me, it was not financially. I'm not the most richest person in Braga, not at all. But I didn't have the need to accept a job after football washing cars. But I did it because my father gave me his explanation. He told me like this: if one day you think that you can take care of this company, you have to know how to work in each station. Because one day, how can you come to your employee and say, you didn't wash well this car? He's going to look at you and he say, and what do you know about washing cars? You never washed a car. He said, you cannot never allow that. Never. And that made a lot of sense. I said, this is not something I feel pleasure to do, obviously.
Yeah.
And I even told him, I remember, I said, Dad, you know that a lot of clients know I was a footballer. He said, yes, but you are not a footballer anymore, are you? I said, no, I'm not. You are right. He said, so you are earning honest money. What's the problem? I said, he's right. But to say what? I feel a lot of respect for my regarding my department teammates, colleagues, because we always have something to learn with others, always. And life gives us lessons that you must be humble. You know, I can talk very, very freely about Tamas. He has much more experience than me. He's doing this for a much longer period. So if I know he has more experience and more knowledge than me, why shouldn't I accept it and learn with him? I don't see. And there's another example that I felt it in my career, which is not related with our department, because I recognize human quality and professional quality to all of them. But even with the ones that don't have quality, you can learn. And I had this example in my career. Not all my coaches were good coaches. Believe me. But even with them, I learned. Even if it was, this is not the way how to do things.
Exactly.
Do you understand? So you always have to be open, not to block the information with your attitude, but accept it and listen. Can I use it? I should not use it. This is correct. This is not correct. This is how I see things. And so when you have this attitude and you are willing to learn, and this course that I did was not the only one I did in 1.5 years that I'm working in the department, scouting department, I don't stop trying to learn. For me, it's important to understand how a football club works, how it's structured, because I believe the more you understand about the other departments, the better professional you will be. Because when you start making questions to other people and you start to learn what they do, you can put yourself in their shoes. I'm not saying you have to be an expert in all the departments, but to understand. I give you an example. If I'm looking to a player, because I'm searching a specific profile of player, and I have a bit of idea what is the marketing department doing, what is the director department doing, or the director doing, or the challenges they have, what is the coach idea, what is the financial director idea, what is my head scout idea. If I know all this information, it will be much easier to understand what kind of profile we are really looking and what kind of player will fit our club.
Completely.
Because a human being is a complete person, is a complete department. So you are trying to find in the market who has the more departments inside, to fit your structure.
Yeah.
But if you don't know how your structure works, how they think, it's going to be much harder for you. You will make many more mistakes, or much more mistakes. So this is what I'm trying always to learn. And I'm a person of many questions. I like to talk, and I like to ask questions. Every time I go to Hungary, and more or less I travel to Hungary every 1 month and a half, I go back to Hungary. As soon as I arrive to the club, I start making questions to the people. I talk with the analyst, I talk with the physio, I talk with the doctor, I talk with the coach, because I don't do this to be annoying, but I try to understand what they are doing.
If you allow me, Filipe,
yeah, of course.
This is interesting. We can make a competition one day who asks more questions, because I can tell you, at the same day, I was in a scouting course, and in the morning I had one teacher, and in the afternoon I had another teacher. The morning teacher was a very experienced person. Of course, I'm not gonna say names. They were both fantastic. The morning one was a very experienced person, and I was not constantly, but I was asking questions. It was my first course. And on the break, I was apologizing. I said, sorry to interrupt so many times, like he said. That's the best way to give a course, because I'm also learning, because the perspective, if you were asking silly questions, obviously it's not good, but sometimes I don't remember many things, and you touch good points. And I said, I'm here to learn, and of course we are talking about that same subject. The other approach in the afternoon was completely different. Almost he wanted me to put me outside because I was asking too many questions, and it depends on the person also that is with you. That's why I do this. Also, Ricardo was challenging me to do this, because I think sharing the knowledge or small things, this is like when you can read 100 books a year, but or you can read only one. You're not gonna learn everything in one or 100. You take apart from here, and even the bad ones, you're gonna learn something, like you said. So I just wanted to refer that, because I think, as you know, I've been out from football many years. I did an interruption also to understand what I wanted to do inside football, because I also wanted to be honest with myself and not to go just for coach or sports director. I've been doing other things more on the financial side, and it was exactly that, to understand how all the department works, how people think, and it's very important to ask, because otherwise you can assume things and you might even be wrong. So the best thing to do when you don't know is to admit that you don't know. So yeah, just wanted to tell you that. And let's just go for a quick round of questions, because I think we don't have much time. I don't know if you want to add something to that subject, or
no.
Yeah, or it's fine. So this one can be very quick, because we both know in Portugal at least works like this, and I'm scout for Greuther Fürth in Germany, as you know, and also usually we stay in the same place in the stadiums in Portugal. They give us we cannot choose where to stay, unfortunately, and but if you try to be in the best position possible in the stadium, if you believe that is important or not. Just a quick answer.
In my opinion, yes. Because if you are high in the middle of the pitch, it's much easier to see the distance, to see the block distance, to have a better scenario of the players, body positions, coordination, first touches. Because if you stay too wide or too low, it's harder. And it makes sense. A lot of people say that the coach, a lot of times, first because it's a brain situation, but a lot of times the coach cannot see everything that is happening on the pitch. That's why they have people upstairs and giving constant feedback. because the upstairs position is always the best position if you want to really analyze and to squeeze everything the game is giving you. So in Portugal, I agree with you. We have a lot of situations and a lot of games where we are not on the best place, and I think this is something that clubs should think about, because a scout working for another club, we are buyers. And I've listened this and I learned this with one of our best sport directors, which was Famalicão sport director. So basically we are buyers. And when you go to watch a game, you have two teams that are supplying you material, and in this case, football players. So if you are the buyer and you cannot see properly the product, how are you going to buy?
Yeah.
So clubs should think completely the opposite. They should really choose and try as much as possible regarding the difficulties they have in the stadiums, because not all the stadiums have the possibility to give the best places for the scouts. But if possible, why not to give a good position to the scouts, because they are there to try to acquire, to buy their players.
Completely. I agree with you. In a perfect world, we should be able to choose, because I prefer, as you know, in the stadiums, usually we stay on the VIP zone. So sometimes I prefer a worse seat. But for example, if I want to understand the temper or how is the player with the manager or in the pitch or with the colleagues, if I stay near the pitch, it's better, to understand also many things. If I already know the player very well, I want to also know how he links with the colleagues, if he communicates or not. Maybe I want to be closer to the player. In a perfect world, we could choose the place, but unfortunately, it's something we still need to wait. But I think in the future,
to be honest, I don't like much VIP tickets. I'm gonna be very honest with you, because the best information regarding players, and information is everything in football in our days, comes from the normal fans, the true supporters. Because when you are in VIP, everybody's very gentle, very a lot of the people that are in the VIP area are not even related with the clubs, so the information is not so good upstairs. But if you really want to focus on your job and to take the most information possible regarding players, you have to be seated close to the fans, because they are the ones who are passionate about the game, are passionate about the club, and they say things. And I had a lot of cases regarding this. When I started, I remember I was watching one game. It was Famalicão. I was in the very beginning. They were still in second division. And there was one player that I watched them 2-3 times. He didn't play. He was on the bench. And in the moment he went for the warm-up, in the 3 games, the people went crazy with him. And I didn't understand. I say, why people go crazy with this player when he's not even playing? I checked, I did my homework. He was not injured. He was not a regular player, blah, blah, blah. And people start talking, he's good only in the 15 minutes. When he starts the game, it's not so intense. It's not so important. This is something that for a scout perspective is extremely important. Of course, you need to double check it. You need to understand if what they are saying is true or not, because you have to see with your own eyes and to make your own judgment. But it's something that came free immediately,
Completely.
And this is important.
Yeah, that's true. I agree 100% with you. So let's go to the next one. So as a player, I just wanted to add something like you were saying that Thomas have much more experience on what he's doing than you. Usually when people ask me how to be a scout, what you need, or you need to be a successful player, sometimes not necessarily, because while a very successful player was inside playing, I was outside, or Thomas was outside watching more matches. So it depends on the person. So you know what I mean? So the experience, you have experience in some things, I have in another things, you have in another thing. So there is not a formula to become a scout. So it's also It depends on many things. We have here just a question from Alexandre Ruivo. Thank you, Alexandre. For you, Filipe, do you think that you have to play professionally to be a scout, or just someone that loves the game, watch the games to play on an amateur level? Basically, if you can be, I think you have both examples, Alexandre. It's not the question is not for me, but I played in youth. Well, I played on youth. High level, I can say, but I didn't made it professionally, and Filipe made it professionally, and we are both scouts. So but if you want to answer, Filipe, please.
No, I agree with you. There's no formula or only one strategy, one plan to become a scout. If you are an ex-footballer, professional footballer, obviously you went through, or at least you have some kind of practical experience, if I can say so, because you are on the right spot, you are on the field, you are running, you are tackling, you are shooting, you can put yourself on the skin of footballers, but that doesn't mean that you will become a good footballer, a good scout. And what do I say with that? You have good footballers, you have bad footballers, you have good scouts, you have not so good scouts. So in the end, what will make you better is, like you mentioned, and well, Alexandre, you must love what you do. You must love the game. Obviously, you have to look with a different eyes as a supporter, because careful when we say you must love the game. I believe all supporters love the game. Otherwise, they wouldn't follow a team. They wouldn't watch games. You have to do more than love. You have to study football. You have to analyze. You have to think about it. And after, you have to practice.
Be patient. Yeah, the practice is to be patient and not to want everything at the same time. Like you said, you've been 24 years playing the game, and you've been studying to become a scout. So that's the advice I give to some scouts also, and I'm also. I can say in the beginning, it's to be patient, because if you do the things right, if you study, if you keep practicing, you get there, if you have passion, and of course if you are good on what you do. The other thing is, like, I wanted to ask you, because you've been inside the pitch in big matches, and if you take in consideration, when you are analyzing a player, the environment and the atmosphere on the stadium. Let's say that is a player from a second division team, let's say, then he's playing against for the cup, for example, in a very big stadium with the best team in the country. Probably you will feel more nervous. And if you take those kinds of things in consideration, or the opposite, if the player is playing against the last on the table and is more relaxed, so if you take in consideration those things or not.
Yes, I take because, for example, for the club that I'm working for, we are a club that our target is to win all the internal competitions, and we always want to have a chance to play in European competitions. So we are a team that we have, I would say, the obligation, game by game, to get the 3 points. I've learned this, and I share all the time the way I learned and I got the things. I got this specific idea with one of my best friends in football, which was Marco Caneira. One day we were talking, and Marco told me like this: there are players that have quality, but they cannot play at high level. They cannot play for big teams. And this is what we are talking about, the atmosphere, the pressure, the fans. And I questioned him. I wanted to, like always, I want to get all what you are thinking. And he told me very simple. He said, listen, Filipe, one thing is you have to perform one game good, but if the other you don't perform so well, no problem. You will not lose your position because the manager trusts you, blah, blah, blah. And you perform on the other one better, blah, blah, blah. At a high level, the teams that fight always to win, you have to always perform well. And this is a pressure that you have to live with. You have to work with. Some players can perform with these things, other players cannot perform. This is the truth. That's why you have different players in different levels. Not only because of this, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But that's why this is one of the factors. Other thing that I analyze quite often is the following. I like to check both. I like to check if I'm focused on one player, I like to watch against a big team and immediately against a smaller team.
Yeah.
Because it can say a lot about a player, about his behavior, about his attitude, about his will. I played with players, and this is my own experience, in clubs. They were big games players. They were not small games players.
Yeah.
And it felt strange, like in the beginning, when I realized that, I would say, how can you perform well against a big club, but against a small club you cannot perform? And this is not quality. This
That's
is
true.
mental. And mental is one of the most important parts on a footballer. And when you are analyzing, you need to get it as quick as possible. Because it will have a major impact on your team.
Completely. And I'll add another thing that you said, and very well. You try to analyze one big match and after like a smaller match. And I believe also I will add like away match and home match is quite the same,
Yeah.
because some players have a blockage when they play. For example, it seems that it's easier to play home, but sometimes it's harder because it's your own supporters. I remember when I was playing, I loved to play away matches because all the fans were against us, and I like that feeling, like let's go. Some others were like already in the warm up, watching the others. So it depends. The mentality and the mental part is very, very important, and it's time more. And we know that the mental coaches are in football and everything. So, and just to finish. So this is a bit a hard question. So because sometimes it's hard to understand, but and depends also for the manager that you are working and giving the report. Of course, the department is giving the reports to. So, for example, let's say that it's a player that you are analyzing, and you see that he doesn't do some things that you believe he has the capacities to do. But if you can try to distinguish if it's a tactical decision from the manager or if it's his own lack of quality to decide, if you know what I mean. Yes. So, for example, in the pass, he doesn't take a risk on a pass, or it can be the opposite. He's insisting in something, let's say long balls, and to the left, and he's not good on that, but he's insisting, and you think, well, is it the player that is insisting in something, or the manager knows that, for example, the right back on the other side is the player that is the weakest one, let's say like that? Do you try to distinguish what is the manager instructions and actually the potential of the player or not?
I will start to answer with this. When you are analyzing a player, you have to analyze the context as well where he is. And this is one of the most difficult things to do in scouting, because you are watching a Portuguese game, let's say, which has a specific culture, has a specific philosophy of football, and I'm trying to pick the best ones with the right profile to move to Hungary, which is a completely different culture of football idea, etc. So what I do in my case, or I try to do, is first you need to understand what is the club idea, the team idea, the coach idea. I mean, the one you are looking at, the player that you are looking at. Because it can be a transition team, it can be a low defensive block team, or it can be a high defensive block. So you need to start to understand what kind of strategy they have. And if you see if it's a pattern, game by game they do this, and you start to have some doubts, imagine you are looking for a very technical player. You don't want you are not looking for a transition player, but you are looking for a 1v1 player. And you are checking a player and you think that he can be interesting, but the way they play is on transitions. You have to analyze other kind of games. You have to look for other kind of things. If you really believe this player can have something there, you need to double check. Try to find a game with a different coach. Try to find a game even with the same coach, probably with a team with the same level, so they don't need to play with a lower block. How he reacts. Does he still look for the same kind of movement? What does he do? What does he do? Does he have the same behavior or not? And I believe only like that, first to understand what's the philosophy of the team, and after the player. And even if you can do both completely, doesn't give you 100% sure that in a different competition, in a different country, with a different job, he will be able to perform at the same level. This is why scouting is so complex. Because in the end, we are talking about human beings. And human being is not only physical, it's not only mental, it's not only tactical. It's so many other things, complex things. And the more points you touch and you analyze, the better you start to reduce the risk.
Completely. And I agree with you. Scouting is very complex because it's many different things that you need to analyze and understand, and especially on football, that are many things happening, and you just it's not an individual sport, and also is not like baseball, for example, that you analyze less things. And like there is a film that everybody knows, Moneyball, that was very popular about the statistic, and many people try to copy that, and but you need to understand that baseball basically, well, I know the rules, but it's if he hits the ball or not, or if he's fast or not. Football is many things, many decisions per minute that you need to take, and you only have like 3-4 minutes the ball in your possession. All the other 86 minutes or whatever, you are without the ball, but you are doing things that are actually.
I agree 100%. I give one example. I will not give names, just to share with you the same opinion. In the beginning of half of last season, so middle of last season, I was analyzing, and I was in charge of following one foreign player in a very specific position. And after 6 months, I said to the department, this player didn't play. He was not an option. We cannot evaluate him because in 6 months, he didn't have enough data for us to analyze. He moved to Portugal. He's doing extremely well. Extremely well. So from one season to the other, what was a below average performance became above average performance. We are talking 6 months difference. So this is very complex. Was it attitude? Was the philosophy of the team? Was the strategy of the team that didn't fit the player? were the specific characteristics of the players around him that didn't suit his type of playing.
Yeah.
So you have to start looking for this. And this is where it starts to be complex, because all the players in the end, they are very good doing something. Even if it's one thing, they are good doing something. And you need to try to find what is this good thing.
Exactly. I agree completely. Let's finish this. We could be talking, both of us. We always have subjects and interesting things to talk. And just wanted to ask you to give some advices, if you can, for someone that wants to be a scout or is starting on scouting, and what's the best advices you can give to them, please.
The first of all is to learn the game. I think makes no sense, even if you are very passionate, like we spoke before, you love the game, you love to watch games, you love to watch on Saturdays Premier League, like probably most of our country does. But if you don't learn the game, you don't know what's happening inside, it makes no sense to try to be a scout. This is the first one. The second one, learn with courses, learn with people that know more than you. But this is only the beginning, and you need to accept that. And what do I mean with this? You can do 10 courses, you can do 20 courses. Of course, you will be better when you finish the course than when you start. But that doesn't mean that you are a scout. That doesn't mean that you are a good scout.
Yeah.
So it's like everything in life. You have the base, start to practice. And practice. Because it's with the practice that you will get better. And when you don't know, try to find someone that is willing to share with you and to share ideas. I'm not saying he's right, the other person is right, but to share ideas,
Yeah.
Put yourself on the spot that you are willing to learn. This is the only way, because, and this is something that very often comes is, how can I get a scout position in clubs if I don't have influence, if I don't have this? Okay, we cannot say it's completely out of the order, but you need to put yourself on a spot that people give you credit.
Yeah.
And by that is only with practice, doing things, move, do stuff, find ideas, find solutions, because in the end, soon as you go on a department to work, you have to do the same, to keep improving, to keep learning, to keep practicing. So you're not doing anything that you will not have to do in the future. You're just starting without being inside. So prepare yourself so you can be an option.
Completely right. And I want to thank you. I just want to say, to share also one thing that I believe that is important for all the scouts. It's like we don't have special eyes, or we don't, we don't see. We have sensibilities that you learn. So, but you are gonna fail anyway. So nobody is 100% accurate, But you need to understand every time you fail, why you failed, why you took that decision. Sometimes you choose a player that the player is not going to be successful in your team, but it's not your fault. You made the right choice. It's for other reasons, for many things can happen in the process, or you cannot adapt. So just feel that, justify to yourself why you are doing those choices, and be honest with yourself, because in the end of the day, what it matters that you are right more times than what the times that you are wrong. But the mistake, it's part, like all the managers, everybody does their mistakes, but try to, of course, to avoid them. But but many scouts ask me, oh, if I don't see that player and if I don't know what is the best player, it's part of it. So study, keep doing, practicing, and it's fantastic. So I hope you enjoyed, and
Yes, thank you, Nuno.
And it was a pleasure, like I said, and I think we had a lot of people watching, and for the share with your friends, because it will be available on YouTube, on Facebook, also on Spotify. So check also our courses that we have. We are world leaders on online soccer education, and see you guys soon. And thanks again, Filipe. Okay.
Thank you.
Take
Have a
care
good evening.
and all the best. Thank you.
You too.
Bye. Thank you.